recording this meeting.
All right, well, to start off this meeting today, thank you all for joining. We were going to do a short introduction onto what Southern Oregon Family Farms requirements or criteria that we're looking for, the short history as far as where we are, where we've been, and where our current focus is. So, Southern Oregon Family Farms, also known as SOFF, is a sun-grown. We really try to focus on the sustainable nature of utilizing the sun. So one of the criteria that we are advocating against is the light assisted flower production. Even though our criteria are not set, we always consider the different members' participation on a case-by-case basis. We're also looking for Oregon owned and Oregon controlled with minimal out-of-state investor capital. Willingness to participate with each other as peers rather than see each other as competitors. Each farm has their own co-branding opportunities within SOFF, though there is no requirements as far as how the individuals cultivate as far as organically or not, although we do want everybody to be sustainability minded. We also are incorporating a third-party grade of our flour to ensure fairness amongst members and also confidence. We have a shared cost associated with the LeafLink and the CRM software. We've tried Apex, but we weren't as successful with Apex as we were LeafLink. Within LeafLink, each member, for an extra $100 a month, they get their own farm page. As far as the main emphasis of the cooperative is to facilitate sales and increase competitiveness to ensure the small family farm is rooted in Oregon's cannabis future. The details of our current focus is that, keep in mind, many members are preoccupied with harvest, but outside of that, we are creating a foundation to facilitate utilizing of wholesale licenses around the state with minimal cost agreements, Southern Oregon Family Farms supported vendor days, and order fulfillment services. This is standardization of packaging and a variety of menu items for the producer cooperative. I wanted to give an opportunity to open up the floor, especially to Kristine, our president. If there's anything that she would like to touch on as far as talking about our cooperatives past and our current position, I definitely like to let you have a moment if you have anything else you'd like to add.
I think you covered it pretty well, and the fact that also we're newly formed. We still have a lot of growth to do. So our policies and exactly who we are is still forming by the day. So anybody who joins with us is going to have the opportunity to shape this into something pretty cool that's for everyone. And I am Kristine Miller. I own Southern Oregon Moonshine is the name of my farm. I'm located out in Cave Junction. It's a outdoor sun-grown tier 2. My soil is not great out here. It's the Tequil-Macaulay loam, so lots of rocks and whatnot. So I've kind of built up, I have 6 foot wide, 248 foot long beds. I have 20 of them that I've built up soil in. So I use like organic soil amendments and cover crops and organic practices, but I also use some salt-based nutrients to supplement my feeding schedule. And but for my pest management is focused on like mostly beneficial insects, and anything that I do spray on my plant is organic, and not just organic, but biological. So it's either like a fungus or a bacteria that I'm spraying on my plant instead of using any oils or any pesticides, so that I could be less impact on the environment as I can and the best health for my plants. And currently this year, I've only sprayed H2O2, a little bit of B1 and kelp, and some molasses. And I've had really great success with that. We have a very long and unique curing process, but I don't need to go into all of that. It's hand shucking, hand bucking, mostly hand trimming as much as we can afford, basically. And our goal is just to produce like clean, high quality medicine to the general public.
Let me chime in. So it looks like if we're sticking to the agenda, we've got 30, we have a time to kind of introduce ourselves, about 30 seconds each.
Okay, sorry, be shorter next time.
That's all right. Justin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yep, Justin Botillier, CEO of Calyx CPA in Medford, Oregon. 80% of our clients are in the cannabis industry. We mitigate 280E using 471C and other creative accounting methods that are aggressive but defensive. And we pretty much kick ass. So if you guys need an accountant, let me know.
Thank you for all your help, Justin. You really helped us from the beginning. Let's pass it over to Devin Parker. He's partners with Kristine over at Southern Oregon Moonshine. He has his grow right next door called Circle D.
You're on mute.
You're on mute. You're muted. I had to mute everybody because there was some background noise. So now you have to all unmute.
I'm Devin. I'm Circle D Farms. Kristine and my farms are on my property out in Rockydale and Cave Junction. She grows in beds. I'm in boxes 6 foot wide. They're only a couple feet apart. We basically have the same growing practices. We basically joined a co-op 2016, 2017. And yeah, here we are.
Cool. Let's hear from Brian of Green Bandit.
Unmute. Start video. All right.
There we go.
Hey, folks, I was listening. I just had it on. I was watering plants, fruit trees. Anyhow, yeah. So I am Brian Neistrath, owner, co-owner of Green Bandit. My wife and I own our cannabis business together, and we are in Eagle Point, outside of Eagle Point. And we are a tier 2 sun-grown farm. We don't grow a full tier 2. We have room to expand to the full size of the tier 2, but we just don't see in the marketplace a reason to grow more weed. So we're just kind of about 2/3 of a tier 2. Our growing style is we're growing in the ground. We've been building up our soil since the year that we got here, which was 2016. And our focus out in the field and in the growing is as close to 100% natural as we can. We do all organic nutrients and amendments and pest management. And yeah, it's working out pretty good. And yeah, just like to see the land evolve over these years. And so, you know, here we are just doing our best to represent Southern Oregon and premium cannabis coming from the power of the sun. That's about it.
Patrick, you're up next.
Hey guys, I am Patrick Butsch, co-owner of Ganja and Massive Seeds, and tier 2 outdoor. What else do we do? Grown in the pasture. We've been working on the pasture soil for 10 or 15 years. We used to do medical in the same spot, and then converted over in 2015 to the rec market. We grow strictly in the dirt that the soil we've been growing with cover crop and amendments over all the years. We grow, this year is our first year all from seed. Usually we have maybe 20% clones just for some different genetics in there or whatever, but this year we just kind of cut back, and our whole garden's from seed, which this year has meant 0 bugs for us and 0 spraying, which is pretty cool. And then yeah, that's about it. We try to do everything we can organic. We used to be certified kind, that didn't pay off. We still grow at the same growing practices, fully organic, blah, blah, blah. That's it.
All right, Daniel, let's hear from you in Alta Gardens.
Daniel, you're on mute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
I don't know how to do the video. I can't work it on this device. But I'm from Alta Gardens. We're here in Sam's Valley, north of Upper Table Rock, and we grow in the ground in the native soil, which was grassland before. And then this farm I inherited from a couple other people that started this place in 2017. They were doing no-till before, and then we kind of continue some of the practices with cover crops, funguses, inoculation. We also do a little bit of KNF practices, and just co-planting and trying to build the organic material in the soil. We have a black clay, and we basically are a small team of 6 people, and we try to do our best. And we are here all the time, like everyone else is. And we just are trying to fit into this industry. And we have a tier 2 that we don't grow fully to its full potential, but we still do pretty good here on the property. We also have 4 greenhouses that we didn't run this year, just did all sun grown. And we also breed plants in the winter, and then we throw pheno hunts out every year. And then one time we did 900 seeds, full term outside, and then just kind of took seeds from there. But yeah, that's all I got.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Daniel, and welcome. Beau, let's hear from you and Leap Farms.
My name's Beau Rillo. I own and operate Leap Farms. We have 2 tier 2s and a wholesale license. We're biodynamic. We've always been organic, and just rolling with life's punches. Developed multiple sales platforms and concepts and marketing strategies, packaging innovations, things like that. I have testing labs in California, Hawaii, and in Texas. We're the first hemp testing lab in Texas. The original purpose of purchasing a hemp lab was so that, or a testing lab in general, was so that I could also learn the science behind my practices, as well as innovate with genetics in order to understand regional characteristics and better develop genetics that grow in this region in particular, as well as understand other regions and their needs. I have a hemp seed company in Hawaii, which has kind of taken over my genetic development program over there, and a hemp conversion to fuel company. So stay pretty busy.
Heck yeah,
Yep.
We're gonna give you a chance a little bit later to talk about the VPD technology you talked to me about the other day.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
I wanted to pass. Well, my name's Owern. I have 2 tier 2s here. I'm right on the lake at the confluence of the Applegate rivers and the Rogue River. My next door neighbor is also part of the co-op. His name is Scott of BZS Resources. I grow in the ground. I wouldn't say that I grow the tier 2s to capacity either. My 2 different soil types are different, so my methods are a little bit different for each one. I have 2 different brands that we have for this farm. We have Black Bottle, which is my personal brand, and then we also have MD Remedies, which is my business partner. He's a doctor. He's really passionate about the medical benefits of the plant. So not too much to elaborate on. I guess throughout the years, I've kind of changed depending on my the money available, and this is one of those years that I've had to scale back on my practices due to revenue sources. But now I'd like to pass the floor to, it says Ryan, but it's Tyler Carpenter of Koomba Hills Farms. If you give us an introduction to yourself, and we have some questions for you too.
All right. Well, it's nice to be here with you guys. Like you said, I'm Tyler Carpenter. I have taken over Koomba Hills in the last year. It's owned by Luke Oswald, but I lease it from him. We're a tier 2 light deprivation farm. We have a total of 32 10 by 100 rows. There's a little bit of variation between them, but so we're not technically running our full capacity as well, but it does become quite a bit to operate. We run a really small crew. Our raised beds and growing practices are all organic. Although this year with the prices, we have transitioned into a hybrid feed, combination of compost teas and salt-based nutrients. We run 5 full-size 36 by 100 greenhouses that are auto depths. They do have, I would say, minor supplemental light, which is just so that we can get a very early start. We typically plant our first round April 1st. So we have to have a little bit of light so they don't flower. We do not run lights during flower except for in our Grow Tech greenhouse, which is our earliest runner. And once the light is good, we don't run them anymore. Electricity's insanely expensive. I don't like to use it if I don't have to. Yeah, and I mean, that's pretty much what we got going. We do a clone operation that mostly sustains our own. We somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 50,000 clones a year, which we eat up about 20 to 25 of those.
Sweet. I wanted to point out that Tyler was a reference from Beau. So thank you very much, Beau, for the recommendation. Tyler, it's been great to get to know you personally. I'm excited to introduce you to the group. We had a couple of questions about more specifics to the co-op and maybe your farm. Specifically, could you talk to us a little bit about the ownership structure? You mentioned lease, and could you talk to us a little bit about investors or who owns, like what's kind of your current situation and plan?
Yeah, so currently we're my business is TJL Management Group, and we lease the property and the license from the owner. He has ran and operated it previously, but is kind of just over all of it and moving on to other things. Said he needs a break, as I'm sure all of you guys understand. I do have an investor, but he's local. He's out of Portland. My other business partner is part of the operations. He runs the sales and the metric. And then I run the farm and the day-to-day. I do help with sales since that's what I did when I was with Beau. The lease is kind of an interesting thing, but we're hoping to transition into an ownership partnership instead of a lease this year, now that it's kind of been proven that we have the capacity to run the farm without Luke being involved to the day-to-day, and then bring more of a three-way partnership on that side. Obviously that's all in conversation, and there's lots of mediation to be done to come to an agreement between the three of us. But yeah, I mean, it's it's definitely an interesting situation, but was a great opportunity, and it's nice not to have someone looking over my shoulder and questioning every decision that I make.
So I talked to you on a personal level as far as the cooperative, and hopefully off of that conversation, you can tell us a little bit about some of your aims or goals as far as what the co-op can help for you. The question is, what do you want from the co-op?
I mean, I'm huge on the farms working together. I definitely see the potential for helping with sales. We do decent, but there's always room for improvement on that. I also see huge benefit in a ability of farms to get together to help essentially attempt to stabilize market where we're not just having dispensaries hold all of the power and able to pitch us against each other so that we can just barely, if at all, pay our bills. That I'm huge on. Also, you had mentioned the cooperation between farms on a production level as far as, hey, I have this sprayer. If you don't have something that can do that and you need to save some time and not run out 6 guys out on backpacks, then possibly you could use this. And I've never had a cooperative approach me or discuss anything where the farmers actually work together on other sides of things besides just sales, which is probably the the height of my interest of what you guys are doing. I think it's really cool.
Is there anything specific that you believe that you can contribute to the cooperative?
It's hard to say at this point. Obviously we have decent sales. We do travel, and we're willing to do any kind of cooperative delivery. Like I said, I got about 50,000 clones I produce a year, that I'd be willing to discount over my overprice to help people that are in tighter spots, or just get them some new varieties, those kind of things.
We wanted to just to reiterate that currently the cooperative is unrefined. And the question is, are you willing to share responsibility in helping to bring it together?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely a team player, willing to do really whatever's needed. I mean, like I said, I think the vision is great, so I'm about it.
That parlays into our second question, which is talking about if called to, would you be interested in being a part of the board of directors?
Yeah, I don't see why I wouldn't. I mean, these kind of things they take legwork, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it's the only path forward for small farmers to be able to compete on the open market, especially getting it in before national is fully derived. And big money is obviously in the game, but they're not as powerful yet as they will be once borders drop. So group effort's going to be the only thing that keeps us alive long term.
Sweet. Well, those are all the questions that we have written down. Does any other farm member have any direct questions for Tyler at Kumba Hills? No? All right. Well, I noticed that Noah of Benson Arbor has came on the meeting. Thank you for joining. We did go through talking about the cooperative and some farm introductions. We're now on to new member introductions. So I wanted to pass the floor to you, Noah.
Oh, right on.
Introduction, and then we'll have some of the same questions that we just asked Tyler for you.
Sure. Yeah, sorry, I was late. I just got in super late last night from Portland. I split my time between Portland and Southern Oregon. As you know, sales is almost more important than anything else these days. So that's where a lot of my energy goes. But thanks for having me. And again, apologize for being late.
So could you give us a little introduction into Benson Arbor and tell us a little bit about your farm?
Yeah, we go back pretty far in the industry, not as far in Oregon. I started in 2005, 2006 down in California, closet grow, garage grow, small commercial grows, and sell into Arbor side and Patients Care Collective. I made my runs down to LA, did all that for a long time. And then in 2013, we moved to Oregon and I bought my place up on Wood Rat Mountain, and we did a couple med years there. A little bit of club work, but a lot more off-market stuff. And then we went rec in 2017. For ownership, it's just myself and my partner. My partner Matt was my manager on the med side, and then on the first year of rec, he became an owner, which was awesome. And so we still own it together. We don't take on investors. We did take on some pretty hefty bank loans this year to build out our farm, but we're still independently owned and operated.
Could you talk to us a little bit about like your farm? From what I know, you have 3 tier 2s. You have 4 tier 2s. You have a light assisted. Can you talk to me a little bit about your operations? And
yeah, we're all organic. When I moved to Oregon, we stopped pushing salts and went all organic. It didn't go so great the first year, but now we really have a great system, and we're producing good yields. We're all sun grown. Our big greenhouse up on the mountain farm is we have lights, but we don't run them during flower, just a little bit during veg. But we rarely even run them anymore because that farm is completely off grid. So, to run generators to power all the lights and stuff would be a little insane. Let's see. We do a lot of breeding and pheno-hunting. I mean, that's probably one thing we're known for is pheno-hunting. And about 3 years ago, I started my own breeding program And now we're pretty deep into that, where I think about half of our offerings this year are strains that we've built and selected. So proud of that. You know, it's one thing I can recommend to the group as much as possible to get away from these nurseries selling the same cuts to everyone else. You got to have your own stuff. One thing I learned back in California was I absolutely hated going to a club and them saying, wow, that's fire, but we already have another version of that on the shelf. So you just want to make sure you're bringing your own unique stuff to the game every time you show up for an appointment. So we have the 2 tier 2s up on Woodrat Mountain. And then 2 years ago, we bought the farm on the Applegate River over by Roosh. I'm sure you guys have seen that from the highway. It's kind of front and center. And we have 2 tier 2s there. We are currently moving a processor license and a wholesale over there, probably have it within the week. The reason we did the processor is we roll infused joints. Our business is mainly joints these days. I think that's, if you look at the sales data for the state, that's where things don't dip that much when it comes into November, December, January. Joints will dip a little bit, but flower really tanks, as we all know. So it's something I recommend to people if you can get into the pre-roll game. It's a good one.
Yeah, we're very interested in the pre-roll game, and speaking to somebody that's has a lot of experience and also a lot of market share. Could you talk to us a little bit more about the joints and about some of that?
Yeah, I think there's like 300 joint companies in the state of Oregon right now operating to some degree. When we got into it, we were like in the first month, I think number 134. This month, something I'm really proud of, we're the number 4 joint company in the state by revenue. So we've managed to take a lot of market share this year. I think our growth is like 80%, which is amazing. And I think the reason why we did it is because we came into the pre-rolls with a very different attitude. It was an attitude of, I want to be very proud of this product. I want to hide nothing. I want no trim, no stems, no junk, only the best, tastiest flower goes into it. We seal things up in internal cellophane. We try to sell things within 60 days of rolling it. That way it's super fresh. And I think that if you take a purist approach to the product and you're trying to put the very best product out there that you can, there's still room in this market. If you're trying to monetize trash, that's already been done and that market is saturated.
Thank you. I talked to you on a personal level about the co-op, but I wanted to, if you can go back into that conversation or overall, what's your ideas of what a cooperative could aid and help you? Essentially, the question is, what do you want from a cooperative?
I don't actually, I'm not really here to gain anything. I just thought maybe there might be some way that I could help through participation, just with my experience on the rec market. Pooling resources is of value, but we have kind of a lot of the machinery and equipment that we need at this point. One thing I am excited about is when the walls come down, I think we're going to reach a point where we can only grow so much in my organization. So one thing I am looking at this group and other local farmers is we're going to get to a point, I think, where we're selling more joints than we can grow. And at that point, I'd really like to roll for other farms and sell a co-branded product. We just put out a co-branded joint with Focus North that I'm really stoked about. They grow really top-notch cannabis. If you've been to their facility, it's all living soil beds indoors. They pheno-hunt, they seek new clones. And so that collaboration is going really well for us right now. So I could see that we'd be in a position to source buds from other farms, and especially to go national with that plan. That's what I'd really like to. There are some amazing growers in Oregon, like really amazing growers. And so if we could collectively come together and launch a joint company on a national level, I think that would be huge. No other state really has the commitment to quality that the craft OG growers of Oregon have. And that's coming from a guy who's born and raised in California. It's just the truth of the matter.
Sweet. we want to just re-acknowledge the fact that this cooperative is unrefined. And the question is, are you willing to share the responsibility of bringing it together?
Yeah, to some degree. My time is incredibly short these days. We're running a sales program, joint program, I mean, you name it, breeding program. So without overcommitting, yes, I'd love to participate, but there might be times where it's limited.
Sweet. Well, that kind of parlays in the second question, which is, if you're called to, would you be interested in joining the board?
Yeah, kind of same response there, as I'd love to. And as much as my time allows. I have a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old. I'm sure all you guys have family, and and then a growing company is just makes time short.
Sweet. Well, does any other farm members have any questions for Noah Benson Arbor? Well, I have a question. I watched your brand go from Benson Elvis to Benson Arbor. Would you mind explaining what Benson Elvis is, and then why you had to switch, what the history?
Yeah. So when we moved up to Oregon, we had loaded up Instagram. We put a couple pictures on it. I had created a login, Benson Elvis. My dog is Benson. He lip curls like that submissive smile. It looks like an Elvis smile. So it was an Instagram login to look at like tattoo artists, honestly. And then we posted some pictures and we got a following. And then it was just like, well, we can't change our name, so we're Benson Elvis. And I kind of liked it, had a good ring to it. And then we filed an apparel trademark for Benson Elvis. And there's a company called ABG, American Brands Group. And what they do is they buy the rights to famous marks. Elvis is a famous trademark. And then what they do is they look for people who are infringement of it, and they come after you. So that's what happened. They came after us. The lawyer said, I give you a 50-50 if you want to fight it. Our lawyer, that IP lawyer, was $750 an hour. So it was like, what else could we do? So Arbor was nice because we grew big trees at the time. So Benson Arbor, done. And that was it.
Cool. Thank you for that story.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions for Noah? If not, we will transfer over to Beau and talk about his vapor pressure deficit drying technology that he was talking to me about personally. Okay, wait just 1 minute before Beau, you start. Maybe Beau's still here. I don't see, oh, Beau is there.
I am here.
Brian, did you have a question for Noah?
Yeah, or maybe it's more of a comment than a question, but we are also members of the 300 manufacturers of pre-rolls in Oregon. And we started in the same way with this idea that, there's a lot of trash pre-rolls. It's part of why we wanted to make them, is because in the pre-rolls that I had tried, there weren't very many that were good. I'd had more that were kind of trashy flavor wise. Something that I'm running into though is like the competition for weight per package. So we're selling about 4 grams in a 6-pack of pre-rolls. And I do hear, at least in certain markets, people just prefer to go in and get 10 1-gram pre-rolls for like the same price, that are known to be trim and kind of trashy. I just, the fact that you guys were able to bridge that and sell for quality is just interesting to me. And I wonder if it's just longevity that got you there, or if it's like some kind of strategy that you deployed to let people know this is actually quality, worth buying. I was just kind of talking to Noah there, because I'm just interested in how you guys were able to, showcase quality, because we say pure flower on our package and all of that, but I just think a lot of people still make the decision based on weight, like how much product am I getting? A little bit maddening.
Right. So the question is, how do you differentiate like a high quality joint pack from the rest of them? Is that?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to me that you guys have, because I've bought your pre-rolls at dispensaries, and I was super stoked. They were premium, and that's for sure. And thank you. It's cool. It's nice to buy something like that. I love the way they're rolled. But yeah, I mean, came in hoping to, you know, get these pre-rolls that we were selling to be $20 out the door to the customer. And that seemed good when we started, you know, 5 months ago or something. But it's just like,
What size pack, what is that pack that's $20 out the door? How many joints, how many grams?
it's 6 joints, 3/4 of a gram per joint.
Okay. I'm really tired. 6 times 0.75, 4.5. Yeah. $20. That's, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good price point. I think that, you know, you look at like a Rebel Spirits out there, and I think they have a 5 gram pack and they sell for 19. So if you do 0.8 of 19, gives you 1520 divided by 2. They're probably selling that pack for $760. This is important. One important thing, I think, if you guys don't know this, in the was it consumer packaged goods, CPGs, are what pre-rolls are. So when we try to get a pre-roll to market, we start with the out the door price that we want the consumer to pay. And then you take 80% of that, because there's a 20% tax, right, at the retail level. And then clubs want to double their money. So you divide that by 2. So take 80% divided by 2, you know, from your outdoor price. I recommend working backwards. So part of it was coming up with a good price point that's attractive, right? So know your market. Are you guys pay for headset?
What was that?
Are you from headset? So headset is tied into 24% of the point of sale systems in the state. And that gives them enough data to basically tell me everything I need to know about my competitors. So I open up headset, I log in, I go into the joint segment, and it'll tell me what are the most popular sizes for joints, for packs. It tells me what the competitors are selling those into the stores for. So, you know, the data is your friend when you're trying to enter a market. Otherwise, you're entering it blind. How did you decide on that 4.5 gram pack and the 0.75 gram weight for the joint?
I looked around and saw that, well, for one, I've always thought that a 1 gram joint was a little big. I questioned if they were very well down to the end. I have had joints I roll that are bigger, and then, you know, you get down to a certain point and you certainly couldn't put that out and relight it, but, you know, a lot of times it turned into a log. So yeah. That's about the larger size joint that I thought our weed would burn all the way through.
Right.
Pack kind of just made sense to me, you know, just like a 6-pack just seems like something that's attractive. And so, yeah, I mean, just, and a 0.7 of a gram is something that, you know, you could reasonably smoke that down and be done with it rather than the stuff light. So I just wanted to go that route. But now I kind of, my thinking on it's changed. Well, of course, I want to look into headset. It's not something I was familiar with.
It's $7 grand a year though. So, you know, it is expensive, right? So, yeah. You know, maybe there's ways to access that data other places. What I love about your approach is you came at it from, I want to make a good quality product. I think this is better for the customer's experience. But if you look at headset data, the number 1 joint that's sold is a 1 gram. The number 2 joint is a 5 gram 10-pack, half grams. So your customer is used to buying 1 grams and half grams. And these customers, I think, probably go to the dispensary pretty high, and they're not great at math. So when they see something that's different, it's kind of hard for them to put apples to apples. You know, they're not doing the this dollar per gram math in their head is the problem. So I think one recommendation is trying to pick a weight that's familiar to the customer. You know, and the way I did that was a little differently. We have a 3.6 gram 6-pack, and then we have a 7.2 gram 12-pack, right? So what's another familiar point for a customer? An 1/8 of cannabis, a 1/4 of cannabis. So that's how we went in that direction.
Do you also talk maybe about your actual pre-rolls and how they're different than other products offered?
Yeah, a year ago we bought the Blackbird from Roll Pros. It's a, really expensive automated machine. It broke a lot. It was like a nightmare to get going. And, we used to roll like 15,000 joints a week, I think. Now we're able to roll 60,000 joints a week. We're not quite selling that much right now, but we're headed there. So yeah, I like the machine. It's extremely complicated and you need really awesome operators, and it breaks all the time. But yeah, it rolls a great joint. And I do think the straight joint is better than a cone, and just the physics of how it functions.
Sweet. Any other questions for Noah? After this, I was going to pass the floor over to Beau to talk to us about his vapor pressure deficit drying service.
Hey, Aaron. I'm gonna, after Beau's presentation, we got about like 10 minutes, and I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording this meeting. So I just want to let you know that that's a heads up.
Your floor, Beau.
Okay. So, I bounce around the world a lot, and I come across different technologies. I'm always looking for the next best innovation. I could definitely share notes with Noah on a lot of what we've done in our pre-roll designs and things. And I agree with everything he said. First of all, customer familiarity is the easiest way to sales. Secondly, so our drying technology that I'm actually getting delivered to my farm in the next like 3 days. Essentially what it does is it's a sealed chamber that allows for, sorry, I got somebody driving by my farm. Yep. It basically controls airflow under pressure, which causes free water to remove from the flower. It leaves the cellular water that's inherently available in the flower, as well as it's cool drying. So it's done under low temps, which essentially is leaving, from early results that I've seen, we're keeping 30% of existing terpenes because they're not sweating off. So you're going to have a higher nose, a better nose, and for longer. As well as with the retention of the core water, the base water it's called, you're actually going to see higher test results, knowing that water content, it's water activity really, is it paired with current testing methods. You actually boost your test results the wetter it is. And this is just a little known fact, but so paired with all those two factors, I'm really excited about bringing this technology forward, and we're going to be running a lot of analytics on it through my own farms this year. They came from the hemp space, they arrived late and basically just got screwed over, and then tried to get their own OLCC wholesale license on that site. Realized they're within like 300 feet of a school and it's never going to happen. So there's a joint venture in place where essentially we're going to be running this technology on my farm. These guys, they have 9 of these chambers. 3 of them are going to Glass House in California, which is a 5 million square foot grow. And 3 are going to Peoples, which is roughly the same size, with like a mixed use licensing set. So those 2 farms, which I actually test for in California. So I was able to reach out and talk to their tech teams and their growers to understand what their interest level was. They can't wait to deploy the technology. They've done a lot of the data and analytics with the single chamber. They're all going to have 3 chambers at their facilities. I'll have 3 here. This thing can dry 12,500 pounds with your eyes closed. Essentially, you're cutting drying time in half, but your cutting labor increases. This is something that I'm actually it's a sticking point for me, because I'm like, well, look, it doesn't matter if it dries in half the time, because I don't sell it in half the time. And a lot of their technology comes from the fruit world, where the volatility of the moment of ripeness and Brix levels is critical. And so we're kind of working through those points, and they were approaching this from like the people are desperate to dry and hemp or fake hemp, whatever it was. And I've had to kind of bring them back down to earth about the way that the licensed cannabis market works and the limited distribution that we have available. And so there's some sticking points that we're still kind of working through, but I hope to have this product installed and some early analytics presented to share with the group. And this could be a possibility from what I'm seeing ultimately in the not having to pull down, not having to hang and not having to pull down. We're looking at possibly a 35% savings in the harvest cost.
Kristine?
Sounds super duper cool. What kind of power does it use? Like 3-phase, or it just have like an internal generator?
It uses 3-phase, but you know, with a you can do a step down. It's very minimal power, really. It's requires 70 amps, which that was also a massive bonus. They're also working on a desiccant, which is all 100% organic and food consumption ready, and has never tripped the test result. I went through all of their numbers on that because being in the testing world in California and the other states, that was a huge point where I was really concerned. But that desiccant actually wipes out any free radicals, and it's basically a fumigated under pressure chamber technology, which is really exciting because the preservation actually increases for the quality of the product.
That's awesome. And you mentioned like a little bit more labor intensive. Is that because you have to like bucket down and like remove the water leaf and dry it on racks to use this machine?
So they're actually the trays themselves, which they actually designed and patented. These units, so one shipping container essentially size can hold like 3,500 pounds of wet weight. And my initial concern is like, well, that's a lot. And, you know, we grow multiple varieties so that we can continue to offer a diverse menu. I said, well, what's the chances that, you know, you're going to have issues with that? And they said, look, because it's under pressure, ultimately the pressure is what's forcing the free water back into the air. And because you're running cold, you're not going to have like a terpene blend where like, hey, I have 3 strains and they all taste the same, right? Because that was a huge concern. Like, I mean, if I'm running Blue City Diesel with some of my other proprietaries, like this isn't going to work. And so that was a really big concern of mine, obviously, amongst the others. But from early examples, we ran some light depths through just to see how that would go because, you know, a higher valued product and I had some available. I'm not seeing any issues with this, and I'm actually really excited about having this tech available. Housing it at my wholesale allows for multiple farms to use this, and that's something that is also exciting about the concept where we can create a value added scenario. It's another sales point. It's another thing, you know, that ultimately down the road as I fire up my vendor bender again next year and we're bringing all these stores down, we get to tour them through and be like, this is part of what the co-op offers. And this is a value added that, you know, this gives them another thing to talk about. Like these guys are on, you know, they're a bunch of small farms, but they're on the cutting edge. Right. And the beauty is that I get to decide who gets to dry there or not. So like, the monsters, the evil corporate demons, they're not invited, right? So things like that, I think it adds to a lot of what Tyler Carpenter was talking about in that our unity will be our strength and our strength will be our unity. And so in the end, the concept is really exciting. I mean, I dried a bunch of vegetables through it too and made a killer stew just to see like what kind of flavonoids would remain. And it was dynamic. Really, really, really excited about it. So it will be something that I'm hoping to offer to the group.
I think that it would help most benefit our members who don't have adequate dry space. like that are limited on dry space, because that's such a huge investment, especially right now with the cost of everything being like 4 times as much as it was 4 years ago. Thankfully, I built my dry barn when things were a little bit better for everyone, but right now we have quite a few members who have limited dry space. So you said drying time in half. So is that like a 4-day cure in there, or
they call for 72 hours, yeah, which is exciting. It also, it in full term, like everybody starts biting their nails off October 20th, right? Because it's like, is it gonna frost? Is it gonna frost? Oh God. And,
it is.
and so that what that does is allow for, even if you're not using the space initially, it allows you to capture product that you might lose otherwise. And so that's another part of this, and that the capacity ultimately, like it's 9,500 wet pounds or 10,000 wet pounds, essentially yielding. And it's like you're spending the money bucking anyway later. It's like paying for the bucking up front, but your cutting cost is eliminated. And you're getting it in 3 days versus 7 to 10, which is what I like with a cold cure, under good dehumidification and temperature management. And so it's answering all of the problems. Essentially, I've chiseled it down to about $15 a pound. Is its basic cost.
That
You,
includes
you have to bucket. Sorry, you have to bucket first to go into the system.
Yes, because ultimately, and the only reason you would add a day if you weren't bucking. What I've determined on our early modeling is that their rate that our joint venture is styled after dry pounds yielded, and I don't want to pay for stem. And given the nature of their control values, I mean, this is like $4 million technology that they've been developed, maybe even more. They've been developing through, it's like Israel, Japan, and a local group here on the West Coast. Adding a day will dry a 1/4 inch stem and everything's balanced. But when they bring it out, they're weighing it, and now you're paying for a bunch of stem to be weighed or dried.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I'm like, well, if you can control it without the stem, then why would I dry stem?
I mean, the reason why we dry stem is because I need every labor in the field chopping and hanging. If I have to pull people to be bucking, that will slow down my harvest, and inevitably I won't get everything out of the field, would be my concern. Because bucking is a slow process,
It is, and that was the initial concern, was the added labor for the cutting time. However, you're going to spend that cutting time. You can spend it now, or you can spend it later.
But I have the time later because my crop is
correct.
molding.
Yes.
Would be.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, bro.